welcome to another Outside the Box review. Today we are looking at R5-D4 from the Star Wars Vintage Collection from Kenner. Or is that Hasbro? It says Kenner on the package, but as far as I know, they don't really exist anymore. So yeah, it's a Hasbro figure. If you haven't seen these, they're doing all the old vintage style packaging, like from the 70s and 80s for Star Wars figures. And when I was a kid, I was a huge Star Wars fan. I loved all the original movies. I watched them a billion times. And while I never had figures in this kind of packaging, I thought it was really neat that they went back to the vintage style to do something special. And for a rare case, I actually held on to the packaging to show off here, just because it is such a big part of what these figures are. So you see the Star Wars logo, and there's Luke with the droid. Turn the packaging around, and you can see the original carded figure up there. A really crummy looking figure, honestly. But I mean, that's what you got back in the day. And then you can see down here the other figures in the wave. I'm not going to get much into that, but then, in here you can see, yes, it is actually a Hasbro product. We'll put the package aside and get a look at this figure. I have to say right off the bat, I am a little disappointed in this. This is the first vintage figure I've picked up, and I knew being a droid it would be pretty simple. You can't put a lot of articulation on it. But R5-D4, for some reason, when I watched these movies as a kid, it was basically a background picture character. I mean, he barely did anything in the movies, and he, for some reason, it was just a character that intrigued me. A neat looking design. I liked that it was basically R2-D2, but a little different, and just kind of a different character, an interesting looking thing. That wasn't an alien and wasn't a human. I was always interested, and I still am, really interested in robotics and things like that, so it just kind of fit for me. But the reason I'm disappointed in this is they had recently released, I think the previous wave to this, the Return of the Jedi wave, they did an R2-D2 figure. And I never actually saw one in person. I've barely seen any of the Return of the Jedi waves on shelves anywhere. But it had a lot of stuff from what I heard. I mean, it had a separate tray that went on top of him with all this extra stuff. You had panels in the front that would open and all this good stuff. And as far as I can tell, this thing really has not a lot to it. And I was hoping when I opened this guy up, he would be like that maybe the panels would pop open, just one or two little Easter eggs on the figure. But he really does not have much of anything on him as far as extra. And when you have a figure with like an $8 price point, and I know Toys R Us is bringing these things up to like $10 or $11, it would be nice to see them not just do something like this. So, for a first vintage figure, it kind of leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. I mean, granted, I've looked at the other ones in package, and I think a lot of them are nice. The Boba Fett looks really cool. The selection of characters is really awesome, too. Just that it's not just hero characters. It's, more of a variety to it. But, for this, it's just a little too simple for the price point. For what he is, he's nicely sculpted. You have all the little details on him. Get a good rotation out of him. He's got pretty much every detail you'd see in the movie on him. The dome can rotate 360 up here, which is pretty nice. The antenna is a permanent fixture, which is a little obnoxious. It almost would have been nice if the antenna was removable, just to change his look up a little. And his other articulation is these arms will move, and his little feet down here will move. And if you want to count his articulation, this wire can go up and down. I'm assuming the reason you'd want to put it up would be if you had a vehicle that could accept a droid like this, and you'd want to put it up to get it out of the way of the toy. And a couple other things you could do with it. I guess I should mention all 3 legs down here have little tiny wheels on it, so he will kind of roll. I mean, I think across most surfaces he'd probably slide just as well as he is rolling. They're not incredibly spectacular wheels. But you can take this 3rd leg here and you pop it off. Pretty deep little groove in there for it to sit in. And you can take his legs, put them under him, and pose them up like that. Which is nice to have the extra posability. And the one other thing this figure can do, and I don't really know if it's supposed to, is you can take the head and remove it, and there's kind of some circuitry in there. I don't know if that's something... I mean, obviously it's intentional, but I don't know if it's supposed to mean something to the figure. I did some web research about this character, and there's really not a whole lot to him beyond the movie. And there's some EU stuff, but I mean nothing like earth-shattering that would say much about this whole thing in here. But he works. I got him mostly, like I said, I love the character. For some odd reason, I've always had a liking for this character, and any of these kind of little droids like this anyway. And if they keep releasing them, I might pick up just some of them. I think it'd be like a little cool little mini collection just to have the little astromech droids around. Definitely would try to pick up that R2-D4 I mentioned earlier with all the stuff on it, especially just to compare what it's like. But for the price point, I really can't recommend this figure. Definitely not happy with what I really got for my money on this one. I wish I would have caught it on sale or something, or gone online for it, because definitely a bit of an overpayment for this guy. But if you do like the character, or if you're a completionist on the wave, I guess, pick him up. Another thing, actually, for once in my life, I'm actually a little disappointed that I took it out of the package. Obviously, the vintage wave, you're paying about $1 extra for cool packaging. And that's why I'm saving the packaging that I have already, because it is really cool. And I just don't know if it's worth paying the normal price for the non-vintage figures for this guy. And I really don't think it's worth paying the full price, the inflated price for him. That has been another Outside the Box review. Stay tuned for more reviews in the future, or possibly a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Man, that was nerdy.